Hi, everyone. Welcome to Murder She Watched, the podcast where we solve murders from our couch. My name is Amy Archer. I'm your host. And today I'm here. I brought in the big guns for this one. I brought in crime podcast expert, Kimberly from A Date with Dateline. Hello, Kimberly.
Hello, it's so an honor to be here and to
Well,
be called
it's
a big gun.
it's an honor to
I'm so
have you.
excited.
Yeah, you're the big guns. Yeah. I mean, 6 degrees of separation, you know Keith and the
Yes.
whole group. And so like
Yes.
now I do.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. You're
Yeah.
basically best friends. Yeah.
Yes.
Uncle Keith. Yeah.
So what have
Daddy
you been
Keith.
up to over there on Date with Dateline?
We're just plugging along. We just had our 8-year anniversary and
It's incredible.
yeah, it's been a long time. So we're still going. Whatever Dateline does, we follow. And
And Dateline, unlike my situation with Sister Wives, Dateline seems to it's gonna go on forever, I think.
yeah, I think Keith will eventually retire,
Mhm.
but Mank is going strong, and he's our BFF. We love Mank, and
Yeah.
we have a new host, Blaine, and Andrea's still going to be there. So
Yeah. What
we're going
season
to
are
keep
they on over
going.
there?
33, I believe.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
You know what? Sister Wives might do season 33. Let's see where
I
it goes.
know.
Yeah, we're on
But
season
sometimes I
19.
think like what was the show? I think it was Real Housewives of Atlanta. I was like, I should get into that. That could be one I'd be into. And then I looked at how many seasons, and it was like 17 or something, and I thought, too late.
Do you watch Real Housewives of Salt Lake City?
Yes, that's
Ok
really the only one I watch, but I actually get really I just get overwhelmed with all the fighting,
I do
so
too.
I tend
So
to just listen to podcasts about it.
I don't blame you. We jumped into that because we both, Amanda and I, have never watched a Real Housewives show in our lives.
Yeah.
So we're like, we're going to start Salt Lake City. Why not? We love Mormon adjacent
Love
things,
Mormon
love
adjacent.
Mormons, you
Yeah.
know?
Mhm.
So we jumped in and I really hate it. I really hate it.
It's
It's weird because I love Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, but I don't like, and we had Ryan Bailey. We recorded with Ryan Bailey yesterday because we're gonna have him on for the reunion. And he was like, with the housewives, it's kind of like you have to be part of the multiverse and appreciate
yeah.
it for what it is. And
Yes.
then the bickering isn't as annoying.
Yes, and I think the more you watch it, the more it's enjoyable, much like The Office or something, like, when you start
Mhm.
to quote it, like, our
Mhm.
friends Rebecca and Melissa who have criminality, like, they know
Yes.
every single Real Housewife, and they can quote and things like that, and I'm like, "I don't know the lore, I don't know anything." I know 90 Day lore, I know
Oh,
every
yes.
season, every that
Oh,
and
yes.
that is I just it maybe that's the lower version. TLC is the
It's
Temu version
100%.
of
Yes.
Bravo,
Yes.
but I'm fine with that. I'm fine with being the Sheen version of
Yeah, yeah.
Bravo. That's
We
fine.
love you,
Yeah.
Matt Sharp, our Lord and Savior. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I do watch Below Deck. That is my Bravo
Okay.
show. I've seen
Okay.
every season. Love it. Yeah.
Now, are you someone who watches a lot of murder when you're not watching Dateline? Like, when you're not doing it for work, are you drawn to murder in other places?
Absolutely not.
Really?
Katie, my partner, she watches very serious
Mm.
podcasts where they're sometimes they have accents, like British or Australian
Oh,
accents, and they're solving a
oh,
murder. I can't. I zone out. I listen to Watch What Crappens, and
yeah.
I watch Bob's Burgers, and I go to happy places. I can't sit in the murder.
I can watch I love murder. I can watch murder 24/7, but I like the big cases. Like
Yeah.
I like a 2020 in a Dateline, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But I want, like, what I'm doing on Murder She Watched is eventually I want to get to the point where we do like seminal cases like John Bonet
Yes.
and just do like a
Yes.
huge deep dive and watch all the media about it
Oh, I
and
love
talk
that.
about
Yeah.
it. Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
the
Scott
teacher in me.
Peterson. Yeah,
Oh, Scott Peterson. I hate that man so much.
I do
I
too.
seriously, if I started a dating app, the first question would be, "Do you think Scott Peterson is guilty?" And if anybody says no to that, guess what? Swipe. Is it left or right? What's the good one? Left?
I don't know.
Left
I
is
don't
bad.
date.
Whatever's bad.
You're asking the wrong person. I watch Dateline for a living, so I do not date. I know better. I did hear you say on Pink Shade, Bobby Durst was your boyfriend. I was very concerned.
Well, I had never watched The Jinx. I knew nothing about it. And then, I had Tess from, Pop Legal Psych on Psych Legal Pop, I always screw that up, and she and I did the whole series, and I fell in love with this man. I was like, "Okay, I know he's a murderer and he's bad, but" and it's not that I love him now, but it's like, I would absolutely have been sucked into his
Right, weird
he had riz.
charisma.
He had
Yeah.
riz. Yes.
Uh-huh. Bye, bye. That's Katie's impression. She does it all like, "Bye,
I do.
bye."
There's this infamous scene where he calls his friend from jail in The Jinx, and the friend is reading the TV guide to him, and he's just going, "Love it, hate it, love it." And so, like, we do that all the time on Little Miss Recap now. We're always like, "Love it, hate it," because
You
that's
know, my
gold.
ideal guy, I've always said, is like a long distance trucker,
Mm,
because they're just gone all the time.
long road trucker like Janelle. Janelle Brown needs one of those too.
Yes,
Mhm,
exactly.
mhm. Yes.
But he might be a murderer because I think they tend to be serial killers, or someone in prison because then I never
Mm.
have to see them.
Are you
Um,
trying to be on Love After Lockup?
I mean, I wouldn't give them money and I wouldn't want them to get out. So
Okay.
that's probably the key differences
So
there.
you could be Scott Peterson's girlfriend.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, right,
Except
he's
he's
good for
gross.
coming out.
I could be a Menendez wife.
Oh,
Um,
girl, get in line. I could
I
be Eric
know.
Menendez's wife,
I know.
100%. Would you take Lyle? Can I push Lyle off on you?
Sure,
Okay,
absolutely.
okay, because I want Eric.
Well, tried to start this segment on our show, which was at the end of the episode, and we're talking about like someone horrible who killed their wife, someone
Mhm.
just gross having, affairs. And the question I wanted to ask at the end of every episode was, would they get love letters in prison? And
I love that.
Katie said, vetoed the whole segment because she's like, it's yes every time. There's
She's right.
never going to be a
She's
no.
right. She's right.
And that grossed me out to my core because I one thing I always say is, "Ladies, raise your standards
Yes, you
and
do.
be your own Prince Charming." And so we gotta stop sending love letters to these monsters in prison, but I bet they are. I don't think he did it, or he did it, but that just he wouldn't do it to me. He wouldn't
Well,
murder me.
A, I'm gonna be one of those letter writers, I'm sure. B, we quote you often saying, "Ladies, raise your standards,"
Thank you.
and now I'm starting to realize there are a lot of similarities between you and Janelle Brown because Janelle also says, "Rescue your own damn self.
I love that.
Ladies, rescue your own damn self." So there you go.
Mhm.
There you I
Yeah,
may have that wrong, she may not have started that, but she said it. So
I
there you
love
go.
her.
Mhm,
Yeah,
and she hates Cody, so there you go.
so do I. We could be best friends.
Alright, are you ready to talk about the Tylenol murders?
Yeah.
Now let me ask you what year you were born.
Oh god. Um, 79.
Okay, so you would not remember this, nor do I. I was born in '77. But, did you grow up hearing about it?
Not till I was older, I think. My mom is a pill pusher to the
Oh,
max,
okay, okay.
and so I got a lot of Tylenol growing up, a lot of antibiotics,
Mm.
a lot she just whatever she has expired bottles all over the house, and she
Wow,
would
okay.
give them, "Here, this pill was for your dad for his back surgery, you take it." Like,
We may do that here sometimes.
so it wasn't until I was much older that I heard
Mhm.
about this, and I always thought they found the guy and it was some crazy person.
I will tell you that even though it was vaguely in my like, I knew it had happened, I didn't think they caught somebody. I remembered it as and I'm so fascinated with memory and how we misremember things.
Yes, the
Like,
Mandela effect.
yes, I remembered that it was like a factory defect. That's how it was in my brain.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, like,
Because that's sort of the key of the show was it in the fact was the call coming from inside the house? Was the
well,
cyanide coming from inside the house or a killer?
so one thing we do at the end of Murder, She Watched is you will render your verdict.
Okay.
And you will solve the crime as
Oh
will I,
god.
okay?
Okay.
Alright, so, I don't have too many pages of notes, only 7 for 3 episodes, that's pretty good.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah,
great. I
yeah.
have nothing.
That's fine, you don't need anything, I told you, just bring yourself.
is I normally would have brought pages of notes, but my computer is going through some hard times right now,
You're going
so
through
I
it?
was transferring things to, an external hard drive before I take it to the Mac store today,
Oh,
and so
good
I was
lord.
yeah, so I was like, "I can't take notes, I'm just gonna try to focus as much as possible." I rewound so much because I kept missing things and going, "What?
Yeah. Yeah.
What was that?"
I got enough, and you just jump in whenever you feel necessary. So, the first thing I want to talk about, this is Cold Case, the Tylenol Murders. It's on Netflix. It aired in 2025. The first note I have is, can we just pour one out for Dan Rather's CBS Evening News? Because God, I miss it. Whenever
Amazing.
I hear Dan Rather, I'm like, oh, God, love that man.
Isn't he still on social?
He's still on social, and he did have a podcast for a little while, and he pops up
Really?
anytime there's something to do with Vietnam. Dan Rather's gonna be involved. So there's a new series on Netflix called Turning Point Vietnam War. He's there. He's all over the Vietnam stuff. I love him.
God bless him.
All right, September 29th, 1982. Chuck Kramer, he's a fire lieutenant in Arlington Heights, Illinois, which is a little suburb of Chicago. He is called to the home of Alan Janis, and Alan is only 27 years old. He was ill. He took the day off work and he collapsed and they could not revive him. So Joe, his brother says, at first they told us he had a heart attack and we were stunned. I mean, he was 27, he was
Yeah.
healthy. Monica, his niece, says they were all gathered. Everyone was confused. Everyone wanted to go back to Adam's house to grieve, but Adam's younger brother, Stanley, and his wife, Teresa, did not want to go, but Grandma made them. So they go to the hospital. Adam's pronounced dead. Everybody's very upset. And Grandma's like, let's go back to the house. Let's everybody grieve together, be together. So they get there, and the brother and his wife take some Tylenol because they're upset. And I don't know, they have a headache or whatever. And they're sitting on the couch, and all of a sudden, Stanley collapses, white foam coming out of his mouth. He starts
Jesus.
convulsing. And Chuck Kramer says, we're back at the firehouse or wherever we are, and it's 6 o'clock now. We get another call for the same address. And we're like, what is going on here? So they rush out there. Stanley's only 25. They're trying to revive him. His wife, Teresa, comes over. She's screaming over his body. She collapses.
Oh God. This is
Three.
all grandma's fault, I have to say. Shouldn't have insisted on
I
together
know.
grieving.
I know. Three people in the same family. Could you
That is
imagine?
insane. I would have
Mm.
thought a carbon monoxide leak, actually.
Yeah, I was trying to think like if this happened, what would your meat? Because I don't know if my mind would go to Tylenol.
No.
It's so they call in Helen Jensen. She's a public health nurse. And she checks the whole house for poison food, odors, anything else. And she's the one who notices there's an open bottle of extra strength Tylenol and there are 6 capsules missing. And there's 3 dead people, and you're supposed to take 2.
I loved her. She was no nonsense.
I loved her too. They go back to their station or whatever, and they discover there have been other mysterious deaths. In Elk Grove, Mary Kellerman, only 12 years old, died. Same thing. She had a cold. She took some Tylenol. She collapsed, died
Ugh,
in the bathroom. I just wrote, this is wild. And here's the thing, Kimberly, like they bring this up later, but I don't know if they would have figured this out if those 3 people didn't all die at the same in the same family.
I don't think they would have.
Like how many people died that we don't know attributed
I
to
mean,
this?
the 12-year-old, I feel like they really would have pushed for answers
Yeah. Yeah. It
because 12-year-olds
depends.
don't just naturally die if they don't have any conditions, usually.
Well, the problem with cyanide, they say later, is you have to specifically test for it.
Right.
So like you have to have something that leads you to suspect it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if she was maybe foaming at the mouth and convulsing, they would maybe think, but
Yeah.
I don't know. So,
You need
Dr.
an ME who goes, like, way above.
Way above. Dr. Kim, he's the ME, and he says it's clear something was happening here. He knew it wasn't an OD of Tylenol because that just takes too long and too many. So he does some research, and he's the one who figures out this is cyanide poisoning. So Jeff Flock is a reporter, and he says he was new at CNN. It was a slow day. They decide to follow up and just go to this press conference. And Cook County medical examiner's there, and he's like, "People are being poisoned, and everybody needs to stop taking Tylenol." And everybody's like, "What?" This was a huge deal.
Yeah.
Like, think
My mom
about
is still pushing it over in what year was this?
This
We
was
were in
82,
Virginia.
your mom
Yeah,
was
we were
pushing
in
it.
Virginia at the
Mhm,
time. I was still getting
mhm.
Tylenol.
So and you have to wonder too, without mass media, how how broadly were they able to get this word out?
When I saw it on the screen during a football game, I was like, "That's
Yes.
very smart.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
smart. You gotta hit the games, the concerts, the whatever
Mhm.
the show was." I
Yep.
don't know what it was. There was only 4 channels.
Yeah, it wasn't fun, guys. So, 2 more deaths come in. Mary McFarland, she's from Downers Grove, she's 31, and Mary Reiner from Winfield, she is 27. So, now it's starting to spread out a little bit. We're like 25 to 30 miles from the other deaths. We meet Mary Reiner's daughter, Michelle Rosen, so who's through the whole doc, Michelle Rosen, and she's great.
She
And she's
is.
like, My mother had just given birth to her fourth child, and she came out of the room and she said, I feel weird. And she was getting dizzy. My grandmother told her, sit down and put your head between your legs. And then she started convulsing, and Michelle's crying, telling the story. She's like, I remember to this day how that breathing sounded and how scared she looked. And it was really bad. So one of the detectives on the case is Detective Breezik. And he says, murder in Chicago's pretty frequent. In
Yeah.
the 80s, dude? Yeah. Yeah.
Even now, I watch Chicago PD, and
Mm.
Chicago Fire, and Chicago Med. Why?
Wow. Do you have something with Chicago?
I it's something I started, last year when I was like, "I need to just start." I got into fire, now I got into med, and then I was like, "I need the lore," so I went back and I watched all the shows in order from when they aired,
Okay.
because I have a problem. It's not that they're good shows at all, it's they're good distraction shows. They're good to have on in
You
the
need to
background.
complete things. Is that what
Uh-huh,
I'm
I'm
hearing? Like, you
definitely a
need to
completist,
yeah,
and sometimes you need a show that you don't have to think about that much. They tell you how to
100%.
feel. They
Mhm.
tell you what to think.
You know what I turn to for that? Stuff like Virgin River,
Oh,
which is terrible, and
is that
it's
a
so
teen show?
n how dare you? No.
No, maybe I'm thinking
It's
of Riverdale.
it's like it would be like if the Hallmark Channel had a romance show on. It's that
I
kinda thing.
gotcha.
It's
I gotcha.
so bad. Or I'll have on cowboys. I love, like, Yellowstone, anything to do with
Okay,
toxic cowboys.
I
Yes.
gotcha. That's my brand is Toxic Cowboys.
Ugh. So 6 million people in Chicago freaking out, and Breezik says he went to the medical examiners, he saw the bottle, he says he could tell the capsule was taken apart, switched out, and put
Mm,
back together. This is diabolical.
it is.
My mother's whole hang up for this. So my mother is an amateur sleuth. She sits home and she's been working on the John Benet Ramsey case for about 30 years.
I love it.
And yeah, and
Does
she
she have a red
said
string wall up?
pretty much. Kimberly, she told me I am to keep her alive, whatever means necessary, until they solve that murder.
I love that.
Mhm. Mhm. So my mom was like, "How did they do this? Like, you would cyanide would burn you so badly. You have to have like crazy gloves and equipment and stuff like that. How are they doing this just like in an aisle at the store?"
Right, right.
But I don't think they were. I think they were taking
They took it home.
if this is a madman, they were
Mhm.
taking it home, doing that, and then bringing it back and slipping it on the shelf. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think I pictured it in an aisle too, but that's not right. You're right. They
Mm-mm.
would have had to do it at least in their car or something. And
Could
then
you imagine? You walk down the aisle like you're there to get tampons or something. You turn the
yeah.
corner and some guy's like got the outfit on like Walter White and he's
Yes,
got the goggles on. He's
detective
like
goggles. Yeah. Uh-huh.
I would just be like
Everything is all fine. It was the '80s. You'd just be like, "I don't
yeah.
know.
You'd be like,
Whatever."
"Oh, okay. Sorry, excuse me. Didn't mean to
This was
interrupt."
before, like, see something, say something,
Yes.
so no one was on guard at all
No, it
times.
was see something, say nothing because
Uh-huh.
snitches get stitches. That's kind of what
Exactly.
it was. Yeah.
Mhm.
So police are going up and down the streets telling people not to take Tylenol. They have the little speakers.
And they knocked on doors. They knocked
Yeah.
on that lady's
Yeah.
door, "Do you have any Tylenol in your house?" And she's like, no, but I have my pajamas on. What is going on?"
Okay, so who is this a problem for, Kimberly? Now here comes my anti-capitalist stance coming out here, okay? Who
Yep.
is this a problem for? Good old Johnson and Johnson.
Right.
They're like, "Oh my god, they're the largest healthcare conglomerate in the world." I don't know if they still are, but in 1982 they were.
They have to be at the top still. Yeah.
Yeah. Gardner Harris, the lead pharmaceutical reporter from the New York Times, who has written a book that's like Johnson and Johnson, The Devil's Toolkit. Like, I don't know, it's real bad. I don't know what the
I
actual name is, but it's real
yeah.
bad.
Mhm.
He says in the early days, the executives were like, "Oh crap!" Like Tylenol was their flagship product. It made up 25% of their profits. And Tylenol's made by McNeil, which is owned by Johnson and Johnson. Okay, so now Wayne Nielsen is the head of Johnson Johnson. He goes to Washington and he starts saying this was murder. This was murder. Like they're setting the narrative already.
Mhm.
The Attorney General of Illinois gets a phone call and from Johnson Johnson, they're like, "What can we do to help?" And he's like, "Stop making Tylenol. How about that? Like, why don't you start recalling it? Stop selling it." So
Mhm.
there's like a nationwide recall. Now we have a set of two FBI agents whose last names are Lane and Steed. The one dude's name is Gray Steed.
He should have been a cowboy.
Yeah, yeah. I just wrote, "Okay, dude, calm down." With that name. So Lane and Steed are called in by President Reagan, and they're setting up a task force. So the way that they solve this is pretty interesting. First, well, the way that they figure out, like, sort of what the problem is first they figured out that the tainted capsules were all manufactured at the same place. So they head to this McNeil's factory. It's in Fort Washington, Pennsylvania, which is where's Fort Washington? Is it out by Pittsburgh?
You're
I
asking the wrong
mean,
person.
I
Where is
know
Pennsylvania?
I'm the
I don't
Pennsylvania
even know.
girl. Okay, it's north of Philly. I should have known that. Okay. So north of Philly. And they head there and they come out and they're basically like, everything's fine, unequivocally safe. They're off the hook. Nothing
Nothing
happening here.
here.
Look
Yeah.
somewhere else. And Johnson and Johnson's like, whew, that worked out for us.
Mhm.
So now they have a press conference and they're like, see, we told you we're good. We've done nothing wrong. In the 80s, this was everyday
Mhm.
stuff, a company getting a pass like this. But today,
Yeah.
could you imagine if this happened today and people were like within 10 minutes like, "Oh, Johnson& Johnson's off the hook, they're fine."
No. Not with social media, not with Luigi. There's just way too
Mm,
much eyes on it now.
mhm. Forgot about Luigi. What's he up to?
He's just waiting, I think.
Just chilling?
Just
Is he
is he getting love letters in prison? He's getting
100%.
bras and panties and
I mean, there might be 2 people talking on these mics right now that have sent him love letters in prison. I'm not saying
not
anything.
me. I I don't like the eyebrows. I know people
Oh,
love him. No, I'm not into murderers. But is very cute.
he's very
And I
cute.
get it. I get it. This is
But
the
all
perfect
murder is
time for this
bad.
document. All murder's bad across the board, but this is the perfect time for this documentary
Yeah,
because it's
yeah.
really shining a light on healthcare, medicine
That's true.
providers, and
Yeah.
yeah,
He's awaiting trial, right? No trial has
correct.
been set. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. I'm so wrapped up in Karen Reed. I don't know what
I
else is
know.
going on. Okay. So through maps and stuff, they figure out that the stores where the Tylenol was purchased that they know of are within an hour of one another. And someone could easily have gotten the bottles off the shelf, brought them home, did this, whatever, because there were no product tampering safety measures. Absolutely none.
Mm.
You could get cyanide from hardware stores. So
That's crazy to me.
I know. There's no crime scene, no motive, no witnesses, no leads. Okay. On October 1st, 1982, 35-year-old Paula Prince is a flight attendant. She doesn't feel well. She takes Tylenol. Her friend finds her dead a few days later. Paramedics said her lips had so much cyanide on them that her friends may have died if they tried to revive her.
Mhm.
So I'm going to come in with a Murder She Watched pro tip.
Yeah.
If your friend, God forbid, something's going down, your friend goes down in front of you. If you
Yeah.
see powder
Yeah.
around their lips, mm-mm. Maybe do the chest compressions, but do not do the mouth to mouth.
Because no one has those, like, protective face things
No.
with them. So and I don't think you can use, like, cling wrap or something because you need to have a hole for the air to go in.
Yes, yes.
So
No,
just
no.
let them die, basically, is
Well,
what Amy's saying.
you can still chest compress,
Mhm. But
but
just
that's
no
it.
air is going in. Yeah.
It'll be, you know what? Kimberly, it'll be like when it was during COVID. How many people
Uh,
died from terrible CPR during COVID?
that's probably very
COVID's
true.
COVID's invisible victims.
You're
Those
right.
people who needed CPR.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Or the
All right.
Heimlich. I'm like, "I can't Heimlich you. I'm sorry you're choking on an apple
Can't come
seed,
near
but
you.
it's
Mm-mm.
you can't 6 feet."
Just hurl yourself against the corner of that table a few
Uh-huh.
times. So now we have I'm going to run through the suspects, okay? So we have I will tell you. Suspect number 1 is dun, 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 James Lewis.
Yeah,
Suspect number
he did it.
2 is Roger Arnold.
Oh, he didn't.
Suspect number 3, Johnson and Johnson. Okay?
They
Those
did
are the
it.
suspects.
They didn't.
So here's what they have on our man James Lewis, who was quite the character.
Yeah.
Mm.
He scared me. He was
He
the
rem-
epitome of a serial killer.
he reminded me of we did this with Ace and Caitlin. We do a monthly. It's called Murder Club, and we do like a documentary with them. And we did Fox Hollow Murders. Did you see that? That
Yes.
he reminded me of the guy in that. Like
Uh-huh.
there's there's a certain type with these
Yes.
guys, yeah,
Yes.
who are like
And poor
really,
Mary
really,
Payne.
really suspected of murder, but not quite enough to pin it on them.
Right, exactly. But you
Mhm.
just know by looking at them. Like, if you were in a store with them, you would go to the next aisle. You
Yes. Yes.
and poor Mary Payne, I'm so glad she didn't have to see the teeth because
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
that lady
she
got,
would
like,
not be
teeth.
okay. Mm-mm.
There's some teeth going on.
So they find out where Paula bought the Tylenol. There's CCTV footage, which was very rare in 1982 or whatever.
Mhm.
They
But
see
it's the
some
same quality as,
yeah,
it generally is now on Dateline for murders that happen in 2025.
which, makes you wonder, what are we doing? What
What
are
are
we
we
doing?
doing? I could
I don't
get a
know.
satellite from space that has a better image than
Yeah,
the one that is outside of the 7-Eleven.
true, true. So on this footage of her buying the Tylenol, they see some dude like staring a hole through her from across the store. And they're like, that guy's pretty suspicious.
I
Did it
mean,
look to you like he
well,
was staring a hole through her?
no, to me it didn't, and she's a pretty lady, and I just it's again, the quality is so bad. He could have been looking at anything.
Yes, yes. So at the same time, a letter surfaces, and it is an extortion letter to Johnson and Johnson.
Yeah.
And the dude describes exactly how cyanide works, what he's done, how he has spent less than $50 on this. It's taken him less than 10 minutes to do this per bottle.
I
And
love
they're
how
like,
but she's bragging.
I
Humble brag much? You only spent 50 okay. It only took you 10 minutes? I'm impressed. You want a high five?
and they're like, "Oh, this dude must know." Like these cops, I don't know what's going on here because they're like, "Wow, he said some facts, so this must be him." So then it said to wire $1 million to a bank account. So of course they're gonna look up the bank account.
Yeah.
The bank account belonged to some dude named Fred McCahey. He's the owner of a travel agency, and he's like, "It wasn't me, but now that you mention it, there's some weirdo who his wife used to work for me, and oops, I bounced her last paycheck, and he's real pissed off at me."
Yeah.
So for some reason, and this was James Lewis, he was going by an alias, but it was James Lewis. And for some reason, James had hung around this travel agency so much, Kimberly, that the other employees could recognize his handwriting. What?
That's crazy.
I mean,
And he has an alias. I say even if he didn't do it, just lock him up for being creepy.
I have podcasted with Amanda now for almost 3 years. You've been podcasting with Katie for 8.
Yeah.
Could you identify Katie's handwriting if you had to?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I could not identify Amanda's. This
Well,
is
I've
the
known Katie for 25 years.
right, this is the difference also in technology
We
too.
went to college together, so
And
I
you
guess
probably
that's
wrote
different.
things then.
Yes.
Yes.
We
Like,
wrote yes. I
I've
knew
never
her
even seen
before
Amanda
everyone had
write
cell
something.
phones. Yeah,
There you
no,
go.
that's a good point. I don't know what Mary Payne's handwriting looks like.
You knew Katie before you had cell phones. Wow. Sit on
Pretty
that for a
much,
minute.
yeah.
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 I mean, people had cell phones, but they were large.
Yeah.
They were
Oh, I
heavy.
remember. Yeah, you don't know what Mary Payne's handwriting looks like. You couldn't
Yeah.
identify. I couldn't
No,
identify
not
it.
at
I've
all.
known Mary
Not
Payne
at
for like 5
all.
years. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the fact that these employees could was a little strange. They get into this dude's apartment, it's vacant, but they find an essay he'd written for the Chicago Tribune and there was a picture of him. And they look at it and they're like, "This is the creeper from the drugstore."
On the video camera, on the
Mhm.
security staring. Okay. I missed this part. I was like, "How did they play?" Okay.
That's how they found him. So they send out the flyer all over the country, and David Barton is sitting in Kansas City watching the news, and he's like, "Oh my God, I know this dude. He is a stone cold killer."
Yeah.
So, all right. Apparently, so episode 2 centers around what happened here. I'm going to summarize it kind of briefly. He is a maniac and he absolutely wrote the letter according to law enforcement. So Joy Bergman is a journalist who couldn't get her Tylenol one open one day on a plane. I see you, girl. You see me, I see
Mhm.
you. And she decided to investigate why we have this triple packaging. So she's the one who found out all this information on James.
It was essentially
Apparently,
like when you buy a pair of scissors and you need another pair of scissors to get
to
into
open the
it, and
scissors.
it
Mhm.
was so frustrating to her that she decided to dedicate her life to finding out why there's so much packaging.
You know, I admire that, Joy Bergman. I
I
admire you.
do. Sometimes something's so annoying and it's so petty of you and you just become obsessed with it.
Not all heroes wear capes. Mm-mm.
Mhm.
So James had a rough early life, and he ended up getting adopted into a nice family. He went to college, he built a career, had a tax business. He married a woman named Leanne. He had a daughter. His daughter had Down syndrome, but she also had some heart issues. And she had a
Mhm.
defect and she had to get her heart patched. And when she was 5, the patch came loose and she passed away. So Ray West was a dude who hung out in their neighborhood, in James's neighborhood, and they became friends.
See, the
Uh-oh.
way they painted it was Ray West was creepy too. Like, why is
They
he hanging
did. They
around
did
with
kinda
this
paint it
family
that way.
who
Yes.
are accountants and have a young daughter?
Know what it reminded me of? When Bobby Durst was living in Galveston as
Yeah.
his alias, and he was hanging out with that neighbor.
Yes.
So, like, that's when
As a woman, as
yeah,
a
you just have yes, yes.
mute woman.
You just have to figure out who out creeps the other one. Like,
Totally, it is,
who
it's
is
the
the
creep off
creepest.
Olympics, yeah.
So Ray tells some people at work, like, "Guys, I'm hanging out with this James guy, but he's getting a little weird. I'm getting
And
uncomfortable." And
I'm
then boom,
saying
he
that, and
disappears.
look at me. I'm saying that he's creepy, and his
Good point.
coworkers are probably like, "You think he's creepy?
Whoa.
Okay."
Very good point. So now the police go to Ray's house to look for him, and there's a note that's like, "Oh, hey, Ray's gone away. Love, James." And they're like, "What?" And they
Not
take his word
suspicious
for
at
it. They're
all.
like, "Oh, okay." And they just go
Sure.
away. Then they come back like 3 weeks later. They get into the house. There's blood everywhere, and they find Ray dismembered in the attic.
This is Bobby Durst stuff. Yeah.
It's kind of Bobby Durst stuff. Yeah. I wrote, he 1000% murdered this dude. There's no
Yes.
doubt in my mind.
Yes. Don't
They
know why
find
though, at this point.
no, they find soap in the sink with blood on it and hairs, and the hairs are James. So they have physical evidence.
Yeah.
James also writes himself a check from Ray's account. And he's like, "Well, I needed a short-term loan for office equipment, and because I was his accountant, I knew he had it." What? Like, what? You
What?
need to buy a fucking printer, and it
Yeah,
couldn't wait, so you had to kill somebody for it.
I'm surprised he didn't, like, do some, like, fake life insurance papers
Mhm.
and get them signed over and then become the beneficiary and stuff like that.
Always check the life insurance people.
Mhm.
Always. So they arrest him, and they're like, "This is a pretty open and shut case."
Yeah.
but somebody didn't read him his Miranda rights.
What I
Oh,
mean, what
Christ.
year is this? Is this in the 1700s? Come on, get with the program, the
Jesus.
Miranda rights.
So later in 1980, so he gets off. He gets off. He just walks away.
Crazy.
Bobby Durst style. Bobby
Yeah.
Durst, who literally stood up in a courtroom and demonstrated how he murdered somebody, got off on it.
Technicality.
Um, so later in 1981, they arrest him again on identity theft. They find out he's pretty much running like a fraud factory out of his tax firm, as you do. When they arrested him, they found a bunch of extortion letters, by the way, and a book on how to poison people. So they go to
Mhm.
arrest him, but he disappears, and Steed and Lane begin a nationwide manhunt for this guy. Turns out he was in New York, but very much like Bobby Durst, he just cannot stay out of the limelight. So James Lewis starts writing letters to the Chicago Tribune, and like a moron, it's like stamped with his local post office.
Yeah.
So they are able to find him, and they find him
Yeah.
in a library.
Does he want to get caught? Does he
This is where I struggle with him, okay?
Uh-huh.
Because could this guy, who is so bad at criming,
Right.
seriously pull off a sophisticated thing like the Tylenol murders?
Right.
I don't know.
Again, it was the '80s though, so you didn't have to be that sophisticated.
It's true.
Um, or is he just a guy who likes to insert himself into cases?
Could be. Could be.
Did he pretend to be the Zodiac killer at any point?
Oh, maybe. 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 So there's a problem. And here's the problem. James Lewis and his wife checked out of their Chicago apartment on September 3rd. And though this is disputed, they arrived at September 20th. So basically, they are on paper in New York at the time the Tylenol things happen.
Mhm.
They could not place him back in Chicago. Again, we didn't have digital forensics like we have
Right.
now. So it was
No,
like,
can ping his cell phone or anything.
yeah. So they were able, though, however, to arrest him for the letter. He argues, I was just directing them to send money to Fred McCahey, who was his nemesis. Like, he has no explanation for this. But
No.
it is true when you think about it. He was not going to benefit from the money because he was directing them to send it to somebody else.
Yeah. Did he just wanna frame the other people for some reason because he had a grudge against them?
I don't know.
Imagine if this is your accountant. You're
I,
like, "Can I file for an extension, please? Because my accountant did the Tylenol murders maybe and is
well,
on the run from the law."
that's like, remember, was it on Love After Lockup or Life During Lockup where one of the women was an accountant, and we were all like, "Ugh."
Oh, yeah, it made me really nervous. Yeah.
Ugh.
No, wouldn't trust her.
I
Nope.
think she was arrested, actually.
I think
So
yes.
almost everybody thinks they got their guy, and James Lewis is sentenced to 10 years. Johnson and Johnson, meanwhile, relaunches Tylenol.
What is
Well, because
10 years for
they could
all
only
those that's
they could only get
crazy.
him on the letter. They couldn't charge him with the murders. So Johnson and Johnson relaunches Tylenol with secure packaging, and they're like, "Okay,
It wasn't
all's
yeah,
done.
we were
We're
the
done."
victims of this, and we've
Mhm.
fixed it even though it wasn't our fault.
Yes, because nobody's gonna be able to take the Tylenol home, do this, and put the seal back on, is their thought.
Right.
Okay. So Gardner Harris says no brand has Gardner Harris, I think, is one of my new boyfriends now because he is just out there like taking down this corporation. I'm here for
Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
He's like, no brand ever has been able to do this to relaunch a product that has killed people with
Yeah.
this level of trust.
No,
Everything is fine.
that's true. Jack in the
Hmm.
Box had killed people years ago. People still remember.
I don't know that.
Oh, there was, like, meat something happened,
Oh,
and then
Jesus.
I remember no one ate there for a long time,
But I
but
have no Jack
probably
in the
they're
Box around me, so
oh, well, probably they're back. I think people have forgiven them, but not like Johnson& and Johnson.
yeah, yeah.
But again, if you have that money, you could do whatever you want.
You could buy anything. You could buy your image.
Yeah, the beef industry sued Oprah.
Yes. Oh my God. Remember that?
Uh,
Wow. And did she have to pay them? I think she did.
I can't re I she might have. That's
Yikes.
crazy.
That's crazy. Okay. So everything seems fine until 1986 when in Yonkers, New York, Diane Ellsroth dies after taking some extra strength Tylenol. She was 23. And Johnson & Johnson are like, "Oh my god, there's another maniac with a very different specific
Uh-huh.
set of skills
It
on
is
the
also
loose."
definitely not us again. Yeah.
Right. This maniac penetrated 3 seals and resealed them.
Yeah. I mean, you just go copycat at that point. You just go,
Yeah.
"It's a copycat."
Yep.
Still
Mary
not
Ray's
us.
daughter, Michelle, who we met earlier, she says, "I accepted the story of what was told to me by my mother, or by the cops about my mother. But once I got older, I was like, something is wrong here." So
Mhm.
what she actually blew this wide open, because what she discovered is that her mother had been sent home from the hospital with this Tylenol. So it was given to her through the hospital pharmacy, which no madman would have had access to.
Mm.
Well, I mean, maybe there's a madman in there, but
Unless he's like the husband of somebody who's giving birth,
yeah, yeah, there we
and
go.
that's
Maybe
what
it
his
was.
focus is instead of being a new dad. He's like, "I'm just gonna start murdering people instead."
Maybe it was Mary Rayner's husband.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was like, he was just pretending that he was,
Yeah.
you know.
Mhm.
So now, now she feels like we should maybe take a look at the manufacturing or at the plant or whatever. She also, okay, so we also get this side story that the day before the Tylenol murders, 2 cops find a like, find a
This
box of Tylenol spilled in a weird alley, and it's all open, and there's like tons of powder around, and they're gathering it up, and they're burning and getting sick, and they have to go to the emergency room. The Tylenol murders happen the next day. 2 days later, the cops they report on this, and the detectives are like, probably unrelated.
this kills
What?
me. This
What?
freaking kills me.
Oh,
What's going on?
wow. Wow. So,
And where was this? Outside of a Hojo,
yeah, yes,
airport
it was.
Hojo.
Yes.
He was hungry, so he wanted to go to Howard Johnson's,
Yeah.
and it was in the parking lot, but this was in Chicago.
Yes.
Yeah,
And the higher ups or the detectives or whomever, the powers that be were just like, probably not related. Don't worry about it.
yeah,
So then, like a couple days or a week later, they're like, you know what? Maybe we should look into that. And they go back,
yeah,
and the evidence is like mostly gone.
yeah.
Wow. Okay.
He
So
thought it
also,
was like a drug deal or something. He's like, "I don't know, those druggy people, crimes and gangs and drugs in Chicago." That's it probably what it is. There were
well,
Tylenol pills. Do you
and you
think
know,
the
the drug
gangs and
addicts with Tylenol. Yeah.
the drug dealers are messing around with Tylenol? Okay.
Well, Kimberly, even drug dealers get headaches or
That's true.
lower back pain.
It's a stressful job.
Okay, now suspect number 2, who I thought was really promising, was
Yeah.
Roger Arnold.
Mhm.
So this is some dude owned a bar, and he calls the police. He's like, "Look, there is this guy in here talking about having cyanide in his house, talking about poisoning people all the time, and he worked in the warehouse of Jewel Food Stores, which is one of the places that the Tylenol was shipped from." So they go into his apartment, they find the anarchist handbook, they find guns and shit. Like they find a bunch of stuff in this, but they
Mhm.
don't find any cyanide. That's a problem. They also find a one-way ticket to Thailand, as you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they don't have anything really concrete. So they release him on bail, which I was surprised they were able to arrest him in the first place.
Exactly. He worked at one of the places where it was shipped from,
Yes,
but
just
he would
one.
have had no access to the other
Nope.
places where it was
No.
shipped from.
No. So they release him on bail and he shoots the bar owner. But it's not the right guy, and he kills, just not that the bar owner was guilty, but he just kills an innocent man.
Who he thought turned him in.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
normal. Snitches get gunshots.
Stitches. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah. So he goes to jail. He died in 2008, but there's still a lot of people who think that he may have done it.
Yeah, he seemed a little weird. He looked a little bit like, DB Cooper to me. So I was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
he's he's up to something. It just
He
might not be
is
the
up to
same thing.
something.
It just
Yes.
might be different.
Yeah. Meanwhile, in 1995, our buddy James Lewis is released and he moves to Cambridge, Mass, where he is charged 10 years later with the rape of a young woman. And this is really bad.
Mhm.
She had chemical burns on her lips, and in her urine, they found chemicals. She says her crazy neighbor sprayed something in her face that burned, pulled
Jeez.
her into his apartment, and drugged her and then assaulted her. That neighbor was James Lewis. Like, there was no, she was like, that is the guy. There was
Absolutely. And we
no
all knew it from
uncertainty.
looking at him. First second he came on the screen. Women are not safe around this man. He
No.
is a he is a ghoulish monster with horrible teeth.
God only knows what he has put his poor wife through. God only knows.
Yes.
So
Poor
they
Lynn.
go to
Lynn?
trial. Leanne? Is it
Leanne?
Leanne?
Leanne.
Yeah. So they go to trial, and this woman who was raped, she refuses to testify. She gets totally freaked out now because she learns he is a suspect in the Tylenol murders.
Yeah.
She's like, okay, like, I'm not going to testify him against him. He gets found not guilty or some shit, or gets like a 3-month sentence, and then he's going to come out of jail and kill me. So I totally get this from
Mhm.
her point of view.
Yeah.
So he soon after this, a jailhouse informant comes forward, and he's like, we were in prison together, and he totally bragged about this, and he said that he committed the Tylenol murders as revenge for the faulty patch in his daughter's heart, which he says was made by Johnson and Johnson. They never confirmed that.
That's what I wanted to know. Like, was it rumored that it did Johnson& and Johnson make medical patches at that time for heart surgeries?
I have no
That
idea, but you would think the documentary should have told us this.
Yeah.
Yeah. James Lewis
And
denies
it doesn't
this.
matter if they actually do, if he thought they did.
Oh, that's a very good point. Yeah. James Lewis denies it, and he's like, I don't know, people ask for all sorts of things from prison. Who knows? I did not kill a bunch of people in retaliation for my daughter. Like, he is so weird.
He's so
And
weird.
the informant's like, I didn't ask for anything. I just came forward and said, please put this maniac back in jail. Like,
Yeah,
it's fine.
the only thing I asked for was put him away because he's terrifying.
Yep. Okay, now our final suspect, Johnson and Johnson.
Yeah.
Originally, Johnson & Johnson had said, nope, no cyanide here. Nowhere near the manufacturing process. I don't know what you're talking about. But actually, it came out that yes, cyanide is in the factory, and it is near the Tylenol.
You're saying a billion-dollar corporation lied to us?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
No, they
Yeah,
don't do
just
that.
take a minute. So they were using cyanide at McNeil as a test for lead. And they said it was locked up nowhere near the factory floor, but when in reality, this was not true. Also, the Chicago medical examiner, who was kind of a badass, he was like, do you use, is Tylenol tested for cyanide, like to make sure there's no cyanide in it? And they were like, yeah. And he's like, well, why would you even do that test if it
Mhm.
wasn't a possibility?
Mhm.
Gotcha. It was a little gotcha
Mhm.
journalism. It was like
Mhm.
Katie Couric and
Yeah.
Sarah, what's her name? Help me.
Palin. Yeah.
Phelan. Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes. What magazines do you read? Gotcha.
Gotcha.
All right. So even Gardner's like, look, they didn't maliciously do that. We know this. Like, they weren't like putting cyanide in the Tylenol just to fuck around with people. But did
I
they
don't
cover up
know
a
about that,
mistake? Yeah.
but I don't know because the pills have been taken apart and
Yeah.
stuff had been put in them, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So that doesn't happen by accident on a factory floor unless the worker and the workers are probably wearing gloves.
Well, here's the thing. My understanding is the guy originally thought they were taken apart and the cyanide was put inside because there was a brown ring on the clear side.
Uh-huh.
But if they were originally made with some cyanide in them, that brown ring would form as well, right?
Right, that's true.
So
But
I
so
don't
you
know.
think somehow the cyanide got into the assembly line machine that was putting together the little
That's what I'm
capsules,
wondering. That's what I'm wondering.
but it
But
was
if
only a small amount that went into certain bottles. So someone just messed up.
it was like a 1970s Coke party. Like, there's
Right.
just this white powder
Just
flying all
everywhere.
over the
Yeah.
place. And
Yeah.
who knows what it is? We're just stuffing it inside those capsules.
Okay,
Or
I could buy
did
that.
or did a disgruntled employee
That's what I'm
switch out
wondering
a
more.
few?
Yeah, that's what
We
I'm
don't
wondering
know.
more.
We don't know.
Did they do background checks, like, on the actual employees that works at those factories? That's what I wanna know.
Probably not, and a background check isn't
No,
gonna help here, I don't know. Well,
no.
maybe. Maybe if you it uncovered some maniac,
Mhm.
maybe. So, the inspectors who were sent to inspect the factory, this is Gardner telling us now, they exonerated Johnson & Johnson within a few hours, which is totally suspicious because inspection of drug factories take way longer.
He's
And
like,
the
"I
F
didn't find anything problematic," and then he drove off in his brand new
Yeah,
Porsche
yeah.
that was conveniently paid for by Johnson& and Johnson.
And he says unequivocally. Who says that? Who is like, there is not a doubt ever in my mind that, like, he could be, I could see if he said something like, look, I looked around, everything seems okay, but we don't know. It's not
No.
100% sure. This
Yeah,
guy's
he's
like, no, it's
speaking
good.
like a expert witness who is being paid for by the defense.
Correct. So now they discover contaminated samples were found in Pennsylvania and in Texas. Kimberly, how could the same madman, go from one place to the other so quickly and get this done?
That's a good point.
Hmm.
Unless where is the distribution center?
Well, that's the thing. Johnson needs them to be close together so that the madman theory works out. So the
Right.
Texas part of it is kind of buried in all of this. Like nobody
Yeah,
really talks about it. The FDA says Johnson were so great. I mean, they were just so cooperative. The head of Johnson even gets a fucking Medal of Freedom from Reagan.
I can't. I couldn't with Reagan again, who I
Ronald
can't.
Reagan putting the Presidential Medal of Freedom on the head of Johnson. I've just summarized 1980 for you. The 1980, the whole decade. There it is.
Nancy is like, "Don't do drugs," and then Ronald is like, "But I'm gonna give this drug company because it's a different kind of drug, it's fine,
Mhm. Mhm.
a medal for fixing a problem that they most likely created."
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Great.
So another thing that Gardner brings up and we talked about earlier is, did 7 people really only die? Like only 7? There's
Mhm.
no way. There's
This
no
was
way.
such a good point. Such a
Cuz
good point.
what he was saying is like these were young people who died, so their deaths were really investigated. If it was like an older person or somebody who was sickly, people probably thought, "Oh, he had a stroke," or "Oh, he had a heart attack."
Mhm.
So how many more people died? We
Yeah.
don't know. So, was the FBI too tunnel visioned on James Lewis? As late as 2006, they were still having meetings to try to figure out how to pin this on James Lewis. So they started to work it as a cold case. And Roy Lane, one half of Lane and Steed,
Mhm.
they interviewed him, and James was like, James tells us the documentary, oh, this guy was no slouch. Like I couldn't lie to him. I had to be good. And he slips up in the interview because he says that the letter took him 3 days to write it before he mailed it, which would have meant he wrote it before the news of the murders broke. However, I think he was just misremembering it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it
or
was
like
a
bragging.
that was a gotcha moment because he kinda goes, "Oh, um, uh, I see your dilemma with my story."
That's a good one. I'm going to use that. I see your dilemma with my story.
Yeah. "I
So,
see the problem you're having with the lies that I'm telling you."
did you watch the Sherry Papini thing, the new one?
No, not yet. I don't know if I can. I don't know.
She's wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So, she's another one. I see the dilemma you're having with my story.
Yeah.
So they get a search warrant, turns nothing up. Some people like this is kind of where we leave it. Like some people think he did it, some people don't. And one guy says James Lewis is a big ol' asshole, but I don't think he is the Tylenol murderer. And then in 2009 they even get a DNA sample from him because the bottles they were able to recover like partial DNA off of them. But they won't release the results. It's been
Yeah,
a long time. Why aren't you releasing it's been, 14 years? 16?
'cause it's
16.
still an ongoing investigation?
That's what they say. James Lewis says, "I've been fighting to clear my name for 40 years," and he dies shortly after filming. Michelle is a woman of a certain age now. Remember, she's Mary Reiner's daughter, who has been working this case full time for 15 years, even though she's not a detective. I feel seen. I see you, girl. You see me, I see you.
She's like, "I do not get paid. My
Nope.
husband hates that this has become my entire life's work.
Yes.
He
Yes.
has to support us, but it's fine."
And the FBI has blocked the release of documents because this is an ongoing investigation. Johnson and Johnson did settle with the families, but it took like 8 or 10 years for them to do that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and it was mostly because they knew the bottles could be tampered with.
Yes,
So
yes.
they're not admitting they did it anything. It was just that the bottles could be
Correct.
tampered with.
Correct. So that is where we leave our cold case.
I
Okay?
really thought it was gonna be solved because I was not paying attention to the part of the title that said
Oh my
cold
god,
case
me too.
because
Me
I'm
too.
not the most smartest.
Nope. I was talking to Amanda this morning. We were recording Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, and I said to her, I didn't realize this was a cold case, and it's
Yeah,
right there in the
it's
title.
right in the title. So dumb.
So, girl, what do you think? What is your verdict?
Wish the documentary had given me more details on
Mhm.
a whiteboard with red string about the distribution, the chain of command,
That's a good point. Yeah.
where bottles were sold, where they were manufactured, if there is a connection to the California and Texas of it all. Can they piece any of
Texas
that?
and Pennsylvania.
Wasn't there a Texas though?
Yeah, Texas and Pennsylvania, though. You said
Oh, there
California.
no California.
No.
Um, so I just wanna know more because I mean, not Robert Arnold, I think he's just crazy. Um,
James Lewis.
James Lewis, I think, is a monster for
Mhm.
and maybe just for other things, but
Mhm.
yeah, like, I definitely killed that dude and attacked that girl,
Yeah.
but he's very suspicious to me, but so is Johnson& and Johnson. But
I
again,
know.
I just honestly, I really felt like there could have been more details of explaining how each thing
Yes.
do you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
I
Like
agree with you 100%, and this is part of this is the rub of Murder, She Watched, is that we are trying to
yes.
stick to what we see,
Yes.
and a lot is left out of this documentary. Like,
I
this is
felt
a
so
case where we
too.
should have had 6 episodes and we had 3,
Mhm.
and I hardly ever
Yeah.
say that. I'm always like, "Cut
No.
them down, don't give us more."
Mm-mm. I need a man or a woman standing in front of a big board with a pointer. I have a
Yes.
pointer
Yes.
and be like, "This I want a map of the United States. And
Mhm,
I want
mhm.
where every what place was sold, every place was distributed,
Like, here's a
and
question. So, the people in New York got the poison pills. The
right,
people in Chicago got the poison pills. I
right,
don't feel like the documentary made a very clear distinction of whether or not those pills were manufactured in the same place
right,
or distributed from the same place.
right,
If they were, then they're connected. But if
right.
they weren't, like, I guess you could narrow it down, right? If they were distributed in the same place. I don't know. You're right. There's a lot of missing parts here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that I found confusing, and that's the only reason I say I don't think it could be Lewis, and I think it's more likely to be just Johnson& and Johnson. Um,
Yeah, I think that's where I'm leaning too. But I'm not gonna go with my 100% certainty, like boom, boom, solved.
yeah.
I'm gonna say 60% leaning towards Johnson Johnson, some kind of manufacturing fuck up.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Or someone crazy in one of the plants. But
Yeah,
can it all be traced back to one plant?
that's what we need to know.
Yeah, we just don't
I
have
don't
all
know.
the information, but so I'm going to say, Lewis, I think you're a monster. What's his name?
James Lewis.
James Lewis. Sorry, there's a villain on SVU, William Lewis, who
There you go.
came after Olivia Benson many times,
Oh,
and he
Jesus.
was a monster too. So he's a monster. Glad he's gone. Bye.
Mhm.
And,
Mhm.
but also Johnson& Johnson, I don't think I will be buying their products, and I very rarely did anyway because I think they test on animals still.
Do they
So,
really?
yeah.
Does Johnson and Johnson test on animals? My kids used to say aminals, that's what I always say. It does not test its product on animals except where required by law. Okay. All right.
Mm,
Now under PETA, they have them marked as unethical. So I'm gonna believe
yeah.
PETA's research on this. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
There's an app you can get and you scan in your like, when you're at the store, you
yeah.
scan items and then it tells you, and
I'm like, I don't think I buy any of their products. And I'm like, oh yes, I
I know,
do.
and then I think I
Benadryl,
do.
girl, forget it. I'm not going
Yeah.
without my Benadryl. How
No.
do I do that? Zyrtec, Visine, Listerine.
Visine
Oh,
also can kill people very
oh,
easily.
Christ on a bike. Oh my god. Okay, well, I don't know. I gotta start. Listeners, please let me know if you have an alternative to Benadryl for me,
Yeah.
and then I'll do that. Okay. You know what though, honestly, Kimberly? I almost never buy the name brand, but sometimes the generic is made by the same company. So,
Oh, yeah, you
yeah,
can,
you can't be
mhm.
sure. Well, thank you for joining me today.
This was so fun despite all the people that died, it's very sad.
This was a real look at a certain time in this country.
Mhm.
When and I think it's hard for people who are like under 30 to kind of understand. Like corporations still have a lot of power in this country. I'm not saying they don't. I mean, they're practically registered voters.
Yeah.
But in a weird way they had different power in the 80s.
Mhm.
It was kind of weird. There was like no transparency and people just kind of worshiped them.
Yeah, and people believed whatever they saw kind of in the commercials and things like that.
Yeah.
So, I don't yeah, you're exactly right. There was no, social media, like, detectives out there who were doing the work on the ground.
You know what it is? It's almost like the level of transparency that we have today with social media and stuff has pushed them to be more covert in their
Yeah.
reach. So
Mhm.
that's why you have so much money in politics and stuff like that
Yes,
because
exactly.
they've just had to find different they couldn't manipulate the public just out there in the public
Right.
anymore. They had to be
Now they're
pushed
probably
underground.
manipulating the politicians and
Yes. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, they've smartened up. Mhm.
yeah.
Well, my friend, tell everyone where they can find you.
Find us at A Date with Dateline and Dateline on social media, and we are excited to have you over there talking about Dateline.
Yeah, guys, go over and listen. I mean, if you like murder shows, there's no better place.
Thank
That's
you.
for
I
sure. That's for
appreciate
sure.
that. I'm so
And you're
excited to be
also
here.
you're also on Pink Shade
I'm on
weekly.
Pink Shade every week talking about 90 Day. Yeah.
Yeah, look at the versatile range that you have.
Well, it's all terrible people, and, the 90-day crossover between 90 Day and Dateline is coming very soon.
Oh, that was my question for you. What are the odds we're gonna have a Cody Brown crossover on Dateline anytime
Oh,
soon?
yeah, I've thought that many times.
Ooh.
Yeah. There's something I honestly thought, like, maybe Mary would kill him at just
Mhm,
snap,
mhm, mhm,
or Janelle and Christine would, like, team up together. I
mhm,
could see Robin killing someone,
mhm.
um, and Cody's a monster. I could absolutely see him doing one of those complete family annihilator things.
Do yourself a favor and watch last week's Tell All, the one that just aired. It's part 2. Just watch the
Okay.
last 8 minutes. He gets into a weird stare down with what is her name? Sakanya Krish
Suki?
yeah, Suki. I forget her last name. But he gets into a weird stare down with her, and she is not backing down. She's like, "I could stare at you
Good,
all day."
good.
And she's just staring at him, and he's staring at her. It's real weird. Real
He
weird.
doesn't like being challenged by women, and,
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
yeah, they're
No, he
not
doesn't.
all together still. When's like, there's in
Correct.
different they can't all to be together. That's what I
They
would
are
love
not
to
all
see is them
together.
all
Yeah. No,
in the
they
same
don't.
room like a 90
They
Day.
haven't been in the same room together in probably 10 years.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
totally.
Well, 10 seasons, I shouldn't say 10
Yeah,
years. Yeah.
yeah.
Alright, my friend, thank you again.
Thank you for
We
having
really
me.
appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.